Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to everyone, wherever you are in the world. This is USA Global TV and Radio. We proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm our founder, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and it's my absolute pleasure to be here with you today for another episode of A Woman's Prerogative. We have a very interesting topic today, one that any of us who are in business actually think about all the time. It's mixing business with pleasure, the art of networking. Networking seems to be so simple for some and so difficult for others. I'm definitely one of those people, as I'm an introvert, although I appear to be an extrovert. So we have an expert with us today who's going to help us navigate these waters. Before we bring our special guest out, let's welcome our full-time panelists. Joining us from the UK, both of our panelists. Let's welcome Dr. Madeline Chan. She is an incredible person. She and I have actually written some books together. We have written some songs together, and she is known in her own right as an international award-winning singer. She is also a songwriter. She is a business owner, and she's a novelist. Let's welcome her to the program. I forgot so hard to waken her. How about that?
Thank you. Oh, Dr. Jacalyn, what a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So good to see you, and thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it. Joining us is our soul sister, and her name is Caroline.heward. She is the Harley Street stress expert. She helps people all over the world bust their stress. She's still running an incredibly ridiculous offer, which we'll find out about later. But she's a certified therapist, and she's helped me as well as many people around the world get into a happy place. Let's welcome Caroline.heward to the show.
Woo! Woo!
How are you today?
Yes, I'm feeling good. Now the weather's warmer here.
Well, that's a good thing. Yeah, we're sweating it out here. It's got to be 100% humidity. You go outside and your glasses just get fogged up. You're like,
oh gosh.
Yes. But anyway, we're going to have a great show today. Caroline, thank you so much for inviting Jackie as a guest today. I'm super excited to get to know Jackie. Jackie GROUNDSELL is known as the Connector. She's also a business expert. She's an international speaker, a mentor, no stranger to the world of podcasting, which I always love that. And also an IT trainer and the chair of a local business association. Let's welcome Jackie to discuss the art of networking. Hello, hello.
Thank you all so much.
It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to the show. This is one of my favorite shows because we have such amazing conversation from women from across the world. So before we get to our topic, Dr. Chan, why don't we start with you? Tell our audience a little bit about you, maybe that I didn't mention, some of the value that you can bring to our viewers and listeners.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Well, all I can say is I'm a very creative person. I co-create with the creator, and I love to help people connect to their creative genius. And being connected to your creative genius, meaning you have to connect with your soul, know your soul purpose, connect with that creative genius inside. And that's what I can do. At the same time, here, I've got my book, Star Child here, which is about helping Mother Earth and some cosmic beings and human beings that are awakened, help them. It's a teenage kind of fantasy cosmic journey And that's what I do. I believe in love. I believe that all we need is love, but we need to go through the shadows. But at the end of the day, it's all about love. So, yeah, if you want to know about love on every different level, oh, goodness, I don't know what that sounds like. I'm your girl for it. Or your woman. Oh, gosh, it sounds even worse.
She's a love lady. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Caroline Heward, the Harley Street stress expert. What can you share with our audience? Maybe a little bit about that ridiculous offer that you have that you can help people.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. My name is Caroline Heward, and I'm known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. I help you bust your stress. How do I do that? I work with you to find the root cause of what's causing your stress-related symptoms. Some people walk around and they say, I'm not stressed, but they don't sleep. They're complaining about a relationship. They're complaining about a good colleague, or they've got a physical ache and pain, or they're feeling angry or sad, or they're feeling very mentally stressed in terms of anxiety or depression. So that is the way that your body and mind is manifesting your stress. And I help you break through the pattern that's creating your everyday stress-related symptoms. And I do that through a very simple process using root cause therapy and chakra psychology. I've been doing this work since 2000, so that's over 2 decades. And I was in Harley Street for 17 years. My ridiculous offer, and it really is I'm offering 1 hour as a consultation for £50, and we will identify 3 root causes of 3 symptoms. It is mind-blowing. It is an introductory offer which will move you from the state of physical, emotional, mental ache and pain to a state of inner peace, calm, and it will give you incredible sleep. And I look forward to helping you bust your stress.
Bust your stress. Bust your stress.
Stress.
Jackie, what you don't know is that we keep asking Caroline to create a song so that we can all sing Bust Your Stress.
Oh, right. I just thought we were having a bit of a boogie generally.
Jackie, as our very special guest for this show today, we're going to be getting into all the different things that you do. But if you could give an overview to our audience, how can you help people watching and listening from around the world?
Thank you so much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today. How can I help? Well, as you said, Dr. Jacalyn, and thank you for that, I'm known as the connector, and that is because I have not a little black book, but a pink book of 20 plus years, 25 years probably, of connections of people that I've been fortunate to meet along the way. And as you know, Caroline indeed was one of those in the very early days. Not only that, also because like you, I've been there, got the t-shirt, done it, etc. So it's about actually coming from the very early days of when networking was that very rude word and nobody wanted to talk to you unless you could actually buy their product or their service. And now people are beginning to recognize, as I'm sure you all do, and I know certainly Caroline does, that it's about building relationships. And that's where I can step in because I can make those connections for you, which I find really easy because I've been fortunate along the way. And one of the things when I was at school was that I was constantly being told to be quiet because I was talking too much. So that's the other string to my bow, that I can talk. So as well as the network that we have with 1230, the Women's Company, I also have a radio show, which I've come from earlier today. So I'm fortunate in the people that I'm able to invite along there, which I hope you all will join me at some point. So that's pretty much me.
It would be an honor. Absolutely. I started off with a radio show too. Radio shows are fantastic. So thank you for all of the work that you're doing. So I'll start us off. We actually have a team member here. Her name is Ashley Owens, and she's how I ended up getting on television in the first place. But she has a show called How Not to Suck at Networking. That is the name of the show. And one thing that she really imparted to me, because I always said I was very nervous about networking, is you walk into a room and you think everyone's looking at you, right? But really no one's looking at you. No one even cares. And there are other people who feel the same way. But there are sometimes people just start walking around handing out cards and just talking about themselves. So Jackie, take us through a really inappropriate networking situation so that we can build on it to get to the positive.
Okay, so can I give you an example of something that actually happened to me a few years ago?
Yes, please.
I was at an event and in the evening, and I was walking to go home. So walking through the room, and I passed two women, and one of them, and I just said, "Oh, good night." And one of them said to me, "Have my card." And I said, "Oh, why would I want your card?" And she said, "Well, you organise events and I organise events and I can help you." So I said, "But why would I want your card?" So she said, "Well, because of organising events." So I thought, well, I'm not really going to get anywhere. And to be honest, it was in the evening and I was getting a bit tired. So I said, okay. So I took her card. I said, "Perhaps you'd like my card." She said, "Oh, yeah, okay then." So she took my card. And as I went out, I dropped her card in the bin, because that's not the way to do it, to thrust your card at people in that way. I mentioned earlier about building relationships. Talking to somebody only Saturday, who had not been to any networking events, and she was saying to me about passing her cards around, and I said, "No, you need to be able to build that rapport first of all. But what is also important is to never dismiss anybody either, because you never know where those connections will go. And it may not be ultimately beneficial to you in terms of bringing in money, but it will get you also known for being able to make that relationship for somebody." So again, another example was when I don't know, I'm just trying to think what actually might be the best example, is to actually make sure that when you are talking to somebody, you said about walking into the room, actually, Dr. Jacalyn, if I can just touch on that, because that is something that people, when they first start out, are quite fearful of, because not only do people, perhaps you feel that people are looking at you, but actually sometimes they're not even looking at you. They're held together in a tight circle, deep in conversation. And you'll know yourselves that the ideal when you walk into a room and people are in conversation, that they'll step back and open up and invite you to join them. But it does happen, unfortunately, fortunately rarely, that sometimes people are tightly engaged in conversation and they don't open up to let you in. So what would you do in that situation? I've had people say to me, "Oh, well, I'd just barge in, I'd just go in, or I'd tap somebody on the shoulder." Well, my suggestion is that you don't do any of those things, because you don't know what they're talking about. They may be sealing that $1 million bill, or deal rather, or they may just be not very nice people. You don't want to talk to them anyway. But my suggestion would be that actually you walk away from them. There'll be people perhaps like you on their own that you can talk to, or you could go and get a coffee, or even you could go to the loo, because I tell you, ladies, there's so much relationship building about conversations with women in the toilets, in terms of, how did you get here today, even on a basic level like that? Did you have to park, and those sort of conversations? But relationships is really the key to everything. And it's building that rapport. And in terms of what I touched on a moment ago about never dismissing anybody, again, if I may use an example that happened, a lady at one of our meetings said that she'd been twice and wasn't coming back again. And I asked her why that was. And she said, "Well, I haven't had any business from it." You'll know from your own experiences that networking is about building relationships, and it's usually and very often a slow burn. It can be, unless you've got a product like Caroline has just put forward, where you go, "Yes, that's what I want," and that's an instant sale. But in this particular example, This lady was something to do with catering. And I asked her if she'd spoken to somebody else who was in the corner of the room at all. And she said, no, she hadn't. Now, that particular person was she had a printing business with her husband. But her biggest client at that time was Jamie Oliver. And this lady I was talking to was in catering. Do you think I saw a little light in her eyes? And she said, would you introduce me? So yes, she did. And I think the key things are to remember that you're building a relationship, to remember not to thrust cards at people. And when you have their card, if they don't ask you for theirs, or for yours rather, just say to them, oh, by the way, would you like my card, or would you like my flyer? And incidentally, I'm a bit belt and braces, so have cards and flyers. Touching with LinkedIn on your phone when the Wi-Fi is not working, it's not always the best way.
Many great points there, Jackie. Thank you so much. I want to tap into something that you just shared and then go to our panelists. So one thing that I typically have done at networking events, which I try to stay away from them as much as possible, but I have to get into them, is if I'm speaking with someone and I see someone walking around and I see they really have no one to talk to and they get my eye, get theirs, I invite them over and I'll say, hey, this is Susan, and we were just talking about whatever. And then, of course, that ends that conversation. But now I brought someone else in to connect them maybe with that person. I don't know if that's correct or not. Dr. Chan, what are your thoughts about that?
I find that really liberating, because I myself has been the kind of person that I've been to these conferences or exhibitions, and I wouldn't say boo-hoo to a goose. So you'll be the absolute solution for me in every way. So yeah. I'm absolutely up for that in every way.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you.
Thank you. Harley Street Stress Expert, what do you think?
I frequently do the same, only because I was known as the queen of networking in the physical networking scene of things. And I love the example that you used, Jackie, about Jamie Oliver, because I frequently cite that as an example. That you don't know who they know, and that person might not be very interesting to you specifically right there and then. There might be somebody like a printer, for instance, and yet they have clients in the celebrity world, and in having that conversation that leads to that degrees of separation, and so you're not just talking to the printer or the gardener or the caterer. You're actually talking to 6 other people that they know, and they could have celebrity status, and they could have people that will give you opportunities for what you do. So I always listen openly, because you just don't know. And as I said, I frequently cite this Jamie Oliver example, because it was from 1230, the Women's Company, that I had that experience, and I learned very quickly. And this was way back, early 2000s. This was when I first came into the Women's Company, and I was so shocked to hear that. It really made me consider who I was talking to, what I was saying, and always leaving them with a really nice impression.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with all of you more. I mean, it's you're obviously well-seasoned networkers.
So, Jackie, you approve of the idea of breaking up the conversation and inviting the third party over to join you?
Absolutely. But I mean, I don't know whether it's something that you've ever experienced, where people are in a tight huddle and just don't open up. And it doesn't happen often, but I do get people come to me, particularly when they're just starting out, when they are quite nervous at walking into a room, as you described, Dr. Jacalyn. And that happens to them, and they don't know how to manage it. But it is interesting how people respond when I perhaps bring that into a workshop, that example into a workshop. What would they do? And some say, well, I'd just barge in. You just don't know it's not the networking way to stay tight and huddled like that. As you rightly pointed out, Dr. Jacalyn, step back and welcome somebody in to join you. And that is, the very best way to go. But it does happen that people block and you just don't know what they're talking about. And they'll break up later on in terms of the event and everything to be available. But it's not worth getting up. It's try to not get upset about it, because there'll always be people like yourselves who are there, warm and welcoming.
Great points by everyone. Thank you. Now, what about on a personal side? I've gone out to dinner many times by myself over the last however many decades. And there was a time before the pandemic when I was going out a lot because I was traveling a lot for business, and I would just bring my iPad. I wouldn't even attempt to speak to anyone. I'd be sitting either at the bar or at a table at the bar, and I'd have my iPad out and I'm watching a movie. I don't want to say should, but when we are dining alone, is it good protocol to start talking to people who are at the bar or in the bar area with you, or people just want to be left alone? What are your thoughts about that, Jackie?
I think with experience, you sort of get the feel of whether that's appropriate or not. And also you need to be cautious for your own safety in many ways, if at times. But I think when you are, obviously, as you all are, warm and welcoming people, that people will gravitate towards you if they're also on their own. And I think that's fine. But I was going to say, you just need to be, I don't know, have any of you had an experience where talking to people nearby to you actually have been an unpleasant experience? I've not experienced that myself. I don't know whether any of you have.
I have. When I was at a networking event at the bar, and the person seemed a little alone and in their phone. Sometimes we use the phone as an escape, so that we don't look alone. You know what I mean? And the person that was on their phone, I says, "Oh, hi. What brings you here? Is this your first time? Have you?" So I tried to make conversation. And the person ignored me, and I thought maybe they didn't hear me. So I spoke a little louder, and I kind of leaned in a little bit. And the person said, "Would you just leave me alone? I'm not interested to talk to you. I've come here to have a drink and just to do my messages. Just leave me alone." And I felt terrible. And at the same time, they were right, because I had encroached on their space. So some people, they've done what they need to do, and then they're taking that space, and it's about understanding the cues. I took the cue as them being in their phone, as avoiding that social connection and interaction, because they were nervous. But what they were really doing is extending the time of their office.
Yeah, a judgment call is difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dr. Chan?
Yeah, I was going to say, Dr. Jacalyn, I've had the complete opposite, because I've come from the music industry and been around on stage and everything. It's almost when you've finished your performance and you come down from the stage and you mix and mingle, it's like you get quite a lot of people coming up to you asking very personal questions. And it's almost, you have to kind of put the boundary up, but a healthy boundary, but be polite as well at the same time. And sometimes it was really when I did the awards, and I came from the awards, and I won an award, and I went back to socialize, and I thought to myself, they're not actually respecting the fact that I need space too. So it was a very difficult, in the way that I go to conferences or big events and exhibitions, and I don't talk because I feel I'm out of my league, but I go and perform, and I come away from it, and then people want to come to talk to me. So it's very interesting, the balance and getting the right.
I think if you are with people, if you like, in that sense, and obviously when you've won your award, people are obviously honouring and looking up to and valuing your achievement. I think it's only natural that they would try and grab you for some sort of conversation if you are in a crowd like that. I know Karen Brady on one occasion was a speaker at an event I went to. She was the keynote speaker. And I particularly went to that event because I wanted to try and collar her as a keynote speaker for one of our events. So I sat right in the front of this audience, and she was late. And the reason she was late was because she brought her daughter with her, and her daughter was being a fairly typical teenager and giving her aggravation. So she'd left the daughter in the car and did her talk and then disappeared because she had to go to attend to her daughter, and she apologized for having to do that and not being able to speak to people. So I don't know whether there's an assumption in that situation that people expect valued people like that to actually talk to you. And if you come off stage and then go down into a group, into a crowd, how do you not talk to people? I don't know how you would do that. If you don't want to talk to people, I would think you just go. You just leave that environment. I don't know.
That's a good point, actually, Jackie. I just wanted to make them happy, you know, so that I wasn't being a diva or ego. But I ended up I couldn't even get out of the place.
Oh, yeah. Oh, how unpleasant when you've won an award like that. I mean, amazing.
Yeah, that's really great experiences that you're all sharing. Something that I also wanted to offer up that I learned from Ashley is when you are at a networking event, try to make it about the other person.
Absolutely.
How can I help you? Who could I introduce you to? After they tell you what it is they do, which, by the way, is a great reason for us to all practice our elevator pitches, to have it very succinct as to what it is that we're doing so we don't bore people. And then, you know, I'd love to introduce you to somebody in my network. And Dr. Chan and Caroline, you know that I love introducing people. Like, that is my biggest thing, collaboration. But there are other people who are not interested in collaboration because they take it as an insecurity, I guess, that, you know, you're trying to take someone from their network and put them into your network. In fact, when I first started out, I had a couple of people ask me if I was poaching their clients. And I said, no, I don't poach anyone. Somebody reached out to me to be a guest. By the way, anyone can be a guest. So anyway, what are your thoughts about that, about adding value and offering to help introduce one person to another? Dr. Chan.
Well, what I love about you, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, is that I met some beautiful people, the lovely Caroline, of course, and Janetta with World Jenny's Day, and now Glenda Benavides, where we're going to be doing some projects together. And this wouldn't have happened at all if I wouldn't have been part of the mothership, USA Global TV and Radio. And adding to this, I want to say that you've been a mentor to me, Dr. Jacalyn, and I wouldn't say boo-hoo to a goose. I wouldn't talk to people. I'd sing to people, but I wouldn't talk. And just being with you, knowing you, taking the interview courses, taking the elevated courses has filled me with so much confidence that I can now, and honestly, I can say I can go to any corporate event and walk in with ease and grace and just know that, yeah, I'm worthy to be walking in that room. So thank you.
Woo!
Thank you
Let's
so much.
give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's fantastic. I love to hear that. Thank you. Caroline, what would you like to respond to, either what Dr. Chan shared or to my original question?
Your original question, I was trying to think what it was now. It was so interesting what Madeline had to share. What I will say is that I've always been a natural networker, and I've never really found it challenging. And that's because I like to find out about other people. And I think that that's a secret for people that have a nervousness about going to networking events. Because if you are shy or nervous or not feeling very confident, is if you ask the questions of the other person, if you ask them about what they do and why they're at the event, then they start talking and you start feeling more relaxed, and then they will ask the questions back and they will feel comfortable. You'll be in rapport with them because you've asked questions of them, and so they feel comfortable to have that conversation, and it is a conversation. Yes, I remember what the question was, collaborations. I do love collaborations, and the reason that I'm here is because of a referral, which essentially was a collaboration from Philip Chan, and he put me forward amongst 2,000 people, and he says, I've put you at the top of the list, and he said that Dr. Jacalyn is waiting for you to book in. Please book in. And one of my things was I was very uncomfortable and unconfident about the fact that I'd be doing live TV, live streaming, because I'd never done it before. So I wasn't unconfident about the networking. I wasn't unconfident about seeing people in the real, but my online presence, I didn't feel confident about. And he said, you know, she's expecting you. There may be potential to do more. And then at the end of that first show, which should have been 20 minutes, ended up being an hour, and an invitation from yourself, Dr. Jacalyn, to be part of the team. And it was such a wow for me, because that is a collaboration, me being on USA Global TV and becoming by default the resident therapist. And I wasn't even expecting that. And then the friendships and the networks, because of this collaboration. It's Caroline Heward with USA Global TV and Radio. This is a perfect collaboration, and it was never in my radar to think about or consider doing live television. And so sometimes collaborations might not be what you think about. Other people might think of you for those opportunities. So I think it's really good, because you won't see that opportunity unless somebody presents it to you from the other place of perspective. And I love it. And I feel very comfortable. And if it's not something that works, if it's not something that resonates, then I would say thank you for suggesting, thank you for sharing the opportunity, and I will sit and think about it. And if it's not right, it's not right, and I won't do anything. And if it is, it's like nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I really adore people making opportunities to me, because I never know where they're going to go.
Yeah.
Love
Beautiful,
it.
Caroline.
Love it.
Thank you also.
Beautifully expressed. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Jackie, as our special guest and our newcomer at USA Global TV and Radio, what would you like to add, or what slant would you like to provide?
Well, you must have seen me sitting there nodding as Caroline was saying all those things, because I can't agree more about the rapport and actually build. Again, it's back to that building relationship, isn't it? Even if it's only an initial contact at that point, but you know when you've got that rapport. And I think, just to sort of slightly disagree with one of the things that Caroline was saying, but not hugely, is to actually, when you're in conversation with people, somebody new, is rather than actually ask them what they do, to say to them, I would suggest that you say, tell me about yourself. And again, Caroline touched on, you know, how did you get here today and all the rest of it? Because I think sometimes when you say, what do, you get things like me, for example, with being an IT trainer. If I said, you know, well, I'm an IT trainer, that could almost end the conversation at that point, couldn't it? But if I said something like, well, give me a quarter of an hour of your time and I can make your day using a computer much happier and easier, and maybe shorter. So I think actually asking somebody to tell you about them can open up a bit more than that sort of, you know, tell me what you do. But 100% agree with Caroline in terms of building that rapport, and you just never dismiss anybody, because I don't know who it was, but somebody touched on other people's networks, because we've all got networks. It doesn't, you know, sometimes people have come to me and they've said, but I don't know anybody. And they're perhaps a mum with children, and they forget about the fact that they've stood in the supermarket queue or they've stood at the school gates. And yes, actually, they do know people. But you don't need to know a lot of people to get that rapport going. So, yes, Caroline, I agree with you 100%. And clearly you all do. So my job is done.
You're a good mentor.
Excellent. Thank you. You know, what I wanted to share with Jackie, this will be a first time for you, but I think Dr. Chan and Caroline may have heard this. But when I started out in radio, I also had an in-person television show that I was paying for while I was doing corporate. And I was told by the powers to be that I had to make a choice. Either I could do the radio or I could do the television. And I was paying for both. I thought that was kind of a weird thing. But I was told that it was seen as a competition and I had to make a choice. So I chose the radio, and I was really upset because I loved doing the television show. I loved meeting all the people that I met. It was called Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. But had that not been a line in the sand, I wouldn't be here today with USA Global TV and Radio. So it just goes to show you that you just don't know. But in that case, the person was basically like, no, these are my people. This is my show. You can't have a radio show. And I say to people on our team, have as many shows, be on as many platforms, meet as many people as you want, because the world needs to hear more of you. And it's not just here on this platform. It's on any platform that you feel is in alignment with what you believe and what you want to share.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, it comes back to that thing that you just don't know where things are going to go, do you? Never dismiss anybody or anything.
Very true. Well, we have already come to the top of the hour for our show today, which is crazy. So, Jackie, as our special guest, what was not asked or proposed to you today that you would like to share with our audience? And then we'll give you a chance to give your contact information.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Most importantly, always follow up. So you've met someone at an event and you've had a conversation. And even if you don't think it's going to go anywhere, as we've touched on already, if you say to them, I'll give you a call or I'll drop you an email, then you must follow up. And you must all, I mean, even with things like when people talk about free events, for example, they're not completely free because your time is money. So you need to maximize on that. So always follow up is so important.
That is so true. That's a big one for me, is about do what you say and say what you do. Say what you mean that you're going to do, because so many people say, you know, let's get together, and then there's no call, there's no follow up. So I'm sure there's something behind that, Caroline. What is behind that? Why people will act as though they're going to do something or say they're going to do something, and then they just don't do it?
I think two things. They might have got preoccupied with their normal day things, so they've left the event and they've forgotten. And the second reason is that they're feeling nervous. They're not feeling confident about the follow-up or what to say. What I have done in the past, and certainly with the fact that we're very much online now, is, and I was shown this, to get people to connect with me on LinkedIn straight away at the event. Where you can bring up the QR code. And I thought it was really cool. Somebody showed it to me, and they have all your contact details and you have theirs. And to in the chat, if it's online, to put your contact details and express for people to connect with you on LinkedIn. And they do it in the networking online. And that's, I feel, the fastest. I've never really been much of a quick person online, but this connection in this way, by just giving them your details as a link, and they click the link and they connect with you, is amazing. So that's what I would do. And it works for me, and it keeps me much better on my follow-up too.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Dr. Chan, what would you like to leave our audience with?
Well, I'm transfixed by Jackie's pink hair. I think she just, sorry. That pink hair just speaks for itself. But on a serious note, sorry, is that I really feel that it's a shame that when people say things but don't follow up in actions, it's so sad, because it just shows that they want to escape. Therefore, they say whatever they can at that time to get away, and they don't follow up. Rather, it's better for them just to be truthful and be honest with that person, rather than let that other person think, oh, I met that person, they said they're going to contact me. And then it's a case of hoping, listening to the phone, looking at their emails, listening for that phone call. It's so wrong if they don't have that true intention from the start.
Very true. And Dr. Chin, I just want to reply to that because you know how I feel about this. You and I've had conversations. I used to be someone who believed everyone was going to do everything they said they were going to do. And then my father would just make fun of me and he'd say, you should, go the opposite way. So now I go in the neutral stance. Until someone proves to me I can trust them, I don't believe they're going to show up or do what they say they're going to do. And I don't take it personally. I used to take it very personally. Now I say to myself, okay, someone will say, I'm really interested in doing a show. Great. Show me. Show me you're interested. I'm not going to chase after you. You show me you're interested. Or I'd like to be a partner with you on this. Okay, let's talk it out. Oh, you're not available. You disappeared. Okay, when you're available, then you'll come back. But to chase after people, to beg people, it's not something that I do. I'm not interested in doing that. So, Jackie, we're going to go to you for the last word. And how can people reach out to you?
Thank you for that. And thank you again for inviting me to the show. It's been a real privilege. People can contact me on all the socials as Jackie Groundsell. The website is all the W's and then the numbers 1230.co.uk. And on email, I'm jgroundsell at 1230.co.uk. And hopefully you will find me. And I will get back to you. And I just think it's an amazing show. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got 55 others, so come and join us on some of our other programs. Dr. Chan, what's a great way for people to get in touch with you?
If they can contact me on LinkedIn, that would be great. LinkedIn, Dr. Madeline Chan. Or you can find me on madelinchan.com. You can also get my book as well on Amazon. I'm on there as well. That's it. That's me.
Thank you. And Caroline, same question.
You can reach me on nomorestress at live.co.uk or call me if you're international +44. If you're local, 07523 120 189. Also, you can reach me on Facebook and LinkedIn. The details are in the chat, in the YouTube video chat. And I look forward to helping you bust your stress.
Your stress.
That has to be the best email address ever.
Burst your stress.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for being here. It's been a really fabulous show. Jackie, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, we are going to close out with some messages from our sponsors. Please do stay tuned and listen because you never know what tip you might take away from what our sponsors are sharing. Our first sponsorship is Cybersecurity Easy. By the way, cybersecurity is a big issue. Phishing, scamming, phone calls, emails. I know people have been taken for thousands and thousands of dollars because they thought somebody was being legitimate. Let's take a look.
We face daily cyber risks, spending over 7 hours of screen time, including 4.5 hours on mobile phones. This convenience comes with significant dangers, with cybercrime costs predicted to exceed $10.5 trillion by 2025. In 2023 alone, seniors lost over $3.4 billion to cybercrime. Our goal is to make social engineering concepts of cybersecurity easier to understand. We work with business teams, senior living facilities, investment companies, and educational institutions, both individually and in groups. We offer real-life examples to help you recognize and prevent attacks, with sessions available both in person, in selected regions, and remotely. Schedule your training session, or to learn more, contact us today. Call us at 847-845-9360. Email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com. Protect your team and family with cybersecurityeasy.com.